Miggy, it's great to have you on the show. I'm super excited to get to talk about Relent and to be able to learn more about you and your band. And dude, I'm always excited to hear new bands that are revisiting an era of music that is my favorite. So welcome to the show, dude.
Man, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. And yeah, like you said, we're excited about bringing back a fresh sound that once was taking over the industry. But man, thanks for having us on, for real.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I had seen a write-up about you guys on Indie Vision Music a while back, and I was like, well, this sounds cool. And I don't remember if I had heard a sound clip at that point or not, but I think I remember hearing something. I was like, okay, this could go somewhere. And then I saw you guys drop the music video for Rise, and I watched that. I'm like, oh, this is dope. I like this. I can get down with this like 100%. This is like golden era P.O.D. for me. I'm like, this is good. I'm all about this. So, yeah, man, it's great to see somebody kind of carrying the torch for that.
Yeah, man, it's been an awesome response. The crazy part is we've had I released Relent a little over a year and a half ago.
Oh wow!
So the songs have been out, but it wasn't until we released this music video people were starting to kind of give it attention and like, oh, where did these guys come from? So I'm here like, man, I've been trying to push this for a year and a half, and no one's, But man, we're just grateful for the response, and we're excited for what people are getting into. It's super cool.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's weird how things like that happen. I mean, there's been bands that I've seen that had like some moderate success and they did okay. They were like really, putting some money towards pushing stuff towards radio and all that was great. And then randomly one station picked an album cut off their record, started playing it, and it blew up and went to like number 3. And they never did anything for it, like nothing.
Dude, yes. I'm like, how does that happen?
it's all about a good song being in the right place at the right time, and that's really all it is. And sometimes it takes a music video, sometimes it takes an article. You just never know what's going to catch somebody's eye, but it's nice when it does.
True that, man. It's exciting.
Sweet deal. So now give us some history on Relent, because I mean, as you're saying, a lot of people are just now finding out about you guys. You're new to me. And
okay.
and I feel like I run a lot of circles in this, and somehow I have not stumbled across you guys in the midst of all this until very recently. But give us some backstory on the band.
Backstory was, I guess, to make it make sense. It starts off with, I've been in music scene my whole life, grew up in it, played in bands, toured, did my thing, but really kind of gave up music for a while. And when I started Relent a little year and a half ago, it was more of an expression of the life change that I had experienced in my life at the time. And I was, I was an alcoholic, a drug addict before, and I dealt with a lot of depression and dark things. And I felt like kind of music was maybe the fuel to that because I was around that so much. Mm-hmm. But completely had this awesome God experience, man, that changed my life. And so when I started writing with Relent again, Relent. Really my only ambition at that point was to kind of let the people who had known what I was about before and what I was doing and kind of disappeared from the scene, was to kind of keep them in tune of what was happening in my life, and let it more or less be a testimony of what had happened to me. I really didn't have any plans to tour or do anything crazy, but as the momentum started, man, it kind of never stopped. It just kept going and going. And like you said, man, we dropped this video and stuff, and it's getting into the right hands. So doors are open, and man, but we're excited. It's super cool.
Nice. Cool. Well, I've got a question for you along those lines, talking about it being kind of almost like, I mean, for lack of a better term, and to use a totally techno geek term, I mean, you basically created a musical blog of sense of like, say, this is where I'm at right now. This is a letter to people who knew who you were before and be like, this is not me. This is what I do now. And this is what I'm about. What did that discussion look like with your bandmates when you were first getting this started? Like, what was the hook for them?
Honestly, it was only myself and my current guitar player, now Chris, at the time. Man, and really, like I said, we both had left the industry. We kind of gave it up. Both had similar turns around in our lives, where we ended up, coming to know Jesus, and all this crazy stuff happened. So when we started writing again, we were just in the same boat. Like, man, we just want people to know what happened. And we're not very good at anything else other than music. So we were like, well, let's try writing something and see where it goes and what happens. And like you said, it was just a blog, really. from the heart of like the change we've experienced, and it kind of led to this, because honestly, it was just him and I in the band at the time. We wrote everything, recorded everything.
Wow.
I did all the drums and vocals for the songs we released. He did the guitar work, and so yeah, and it turned into what it is now. Now we're a full 4-member band, and man, it's just been crazy. The momentum's been just kicking up, and it's going so well.
Nice. Very cool. Now, what was your inspiration musically going into putting this record together, even though I know it's kind of been a minute?
Yeah, I've always, I mean, I'm not just I guess, I don't know what they call it nowadays, a metalhead.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up listening to everything and anything. I'm really like an R&B freak. I love R&B music,
Nice.
jazz, stuff like that. Older hip hop stuff. I was really a meathead when it comes to that stuff. But I always had this kind of desire to kind of put um, the rap game with the hip hop game with the rock game, and watch it do it. And obviously we've seen bands do it. You have Limp Bizkit, or you can name the '90s guys who P.O.D. who've come out and just completely killed it. They've been awesome at it.
Yeah.
But really wanting to bring a fresh sound to that. So really, I mean, I just dug back into the roots, and I was born in '88, so I grew up in the '90s, and for me, that was some of the best music that's ever come out was in the '90s. And so really everything that happened in the '90s, and that movement that took place with metal and rock and hip hop, and really just combining all of that in one, and putting it into our music is what that's what the inspiration has been for us so far.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about the song Rise, since it's the current single. We're going to play it during the show, and of course, people can check out the music video for that online now. But as far as the song itself, tell us about that.
Yeah, Rise was the very first song we wrote when we sat down and decided to write for Relent. And again, it was an expression song. I was very much a poetic thing, I guess you can say, kind of declaring the life change that I had experienced. And like I said before, coming from addiction, coming from drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, everything that I was addicted to, I was able to rise out of that because of the relationship that I had encountered with Jesus Christ. And so Rise is really a declaration of the life change that's taking place in my life, and really encouraging people that there is nothing that the power of God can't bring you out of, and kind of encouraging them to rise up from anything and anything they face in their life.
Okay, nice. Now, with this project being a message to people who you knew before, did any of them have a reaction that you didn't expect from that information and that life change?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had the people who were, encouraged and proud of it, but on the opposite end, I got people that were completely against it. They called me a fake. They called me this church boy, whatever it was. And I think it's so, I guess, typical to hear, because I mean, usually the come to Jesus moments are when you're in the darkest time of your life, and you've got nothing else to look for.
Right.
And for me, that was it. I was in a completely dark spot in my life, where I thought I had it made, and I had music going, and I had this and that, and really I was still empty. So I did. The feedback was a little mixed, but ultimately, I mean, it's what I expected. And biblically, it teaches us that people aren't going to always agree with with the message that you're trying to deliver. But that's okay. We're just excited to be a part of it and be a part of this movement. So.
Okay, fantastic. Well, now, since the music video seems to be kind of the catalyst for all of this attention that you guys have been getting recently, what was the experience like making that video?
Oh man, it was awesome. It was frustrating. It was our first really music video we've done. It was fun, but like I said, it was a lot of work. We didn't realize how much work went into a music video. How many takes you had to do. I thought you had to do one take and we got some shots and we're good. No, we probably played the song over like maybe 25 times.
Yeah.
And we were just literally by the end of the video. I mean, what you see is real. I mean, we're going all out, full energy, just being as passionate as we know how to be about the music. But the sweat, the lethargic arm lift at the very end of the video, that was real. I was so done. I was so tired, man. I think we started 7:00 in the evening, and we didn't wrap up to maybe 1:00 in the morning. And dude, I was done, man. But it was a cool experience, man. Just getting our feet wet with that whole side of the industry's video, and we've seen what things like that can do for bands. So we wanted to bring something that was, eye-opening and eye-candy for the people, but also that would relate to the lyrics and everything we're about as a band.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think the true test of whether a music video is bound to be epic is how adverse the conditions are. So how hot was it where you guys were doing this?
It was, well, we're in the back of my mother-in-law's 5-acre property for one. And there's like in the middle of the woods, it is completely hot. We had, I think, like 6 barrels burning the whole night, and we're in the middle of them sweating. And so literally, I remember after, I think maybe the first or second take, I was completely out of breath. I mean, I was gassed. I was done, could not breathe. I'm inhaling all this smoke. Mind you, I think there was like chemicals left over from the barrels that we had bought for the video. So some of us were feeling lightheaded and like, man, my head hurts. But but it was stinking hot, man. But at the end of the day, it was so worth it to see the response again. It was so cool. So I'm excited for the next one for sure.
Yeah, it never fails, man. If it's going to be a really emotive, like impassioned performance, it's always going to be hot. And if you're ever going to have to be in water for a music video, it's going to be like 45 degrees or less. It just never fails.
Exactly. And you're in Texas too. It's either really, really stinking hot or really cold. And it's just like, you can never guess what the weather's going to be like that day. So it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Nice. Now, one of the other songs that we had talked about that we were going to play during the show is called Surrendered. What can you tell us about that track?
Yeah, man. Surrendered, again, was the second song we released and wrote as Relent. Surrendered a little more, got into detail, more of the life change that really happened with me.
Okay.
You could read in the verses and stuff, and just the structure of how it was placed and written. But it really got into detail of what it really means and what I learned that it meant, to surrender your life to Christ and to really walk with God, and to give him everything. I think a lot of times people have been robbed with the mentality that God is very much a taker, and he's not, and I've come to know him as the giver of givers, man. He so much so that he gave his own son, so that we can have eternal life. And so that song really represents what I gave or what we gave as a band, because we individually have all gone through this process with God, and what we gave and what we got in return was something so much more than we expected, something much more than we deserved, man. But God is just awesome. And so that's really just a testament of our life change again.
Okay, nice. Now, with all of this kind of newfound attention, I know this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, but there's no, of course, guaranteeing kind of future events. But going from maybe a little bit more anonymity to where you guys are at the moment, where do you see the future of the band going at this point?
Man, well, there's a lot of things in the works.
Cool.
Honestly, like there's tons of stuff that have opened up for us that we were not expecting, but it's super cool to have. Some we can't announce yet, but we will announce soon. Man, we've been just getting open doors for just some awesome shows, awesome bands to come with. We do have some tour announcements coming up soon. In the studio now, recording the first official EP for Relent. So that's going great. So there's just tons of stuff that we're completely busy on this side of the spectrum. But man, the future looks so bright, and we couldn't be more excited, honestly.
Sweet deal, man. Awesome.
Yeah,
I did see that you guys were going to be doing a show with Death Therapy in the near future. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that one's April 6th, Austin, Texas. We'll be there with them. And again, man, I was a huge Becoming the Archetype fan. So to see him doing the Death Therapy now, it's stinking cool to be sharing that show with him.
Yeah, no kidding. And plus, I mean, it's always weird to see a 2-person band do anything, but to see a 2-person band do heavy music is quite fun.
And dude, yes, and they do it so well. Like Jason is just a mastermind. It's ridiculous. They're so good, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Their debut EP was The Storm Before the Calm.
Dude, it was sick.
That's one of my favorite records of last year. That was a good one.
It was so sick, man.
For sure, man. Cool. Well, I'm glad you guys are getting some new opportunities with that. I'm looking forward to being able to kind of watch where you guys go and see how things progress, because, I think that there's a huge section of music fans who aren't done with the style of music that you're putting out, even though a lot of bands, for whatever reason, decide they were going to shy away from that. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it was kind of a trend for a while, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't good for the bands who did it well.
Oh yeah.
So
Sure.
I'm thrilled that you guys are doing this, man. That's just awesome.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it for real.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the questions that we always make sure to ask anybody who's on the show, especially if they've never been on the show before, because it opens a window into kind of who you are as a person, maybe more so than just being, a lead singer of a band or a guitarist or a band or anything like that. But, Miggy, as a band member, you've been through some hard times. I've seen the music video. You got lots of tattoos and piercings, which is all super fun. What is, despite all that, the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
The most un-rock and roll thing about me. Wow. I'm really emotional.
Okay.
I'm like the man. I have such a heart for people that I mean, again, I get it so much that, man, you're covered in tats, this and that. But you'll see me crying for the African kids commercials. Like, I'm that type of guy. Like, it really hits me. I don't know if that's un-rock and roll. For me, that's more rock and roll. It takes a real man to cry. But if I can give you another one, the most un-rock and roll thing about me is, man, that's a tough one, honestly. That's what are some of the answers you've got? I'm curious about that.
Now, right off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who said what, but I know we've gotten stuff like I've dressed up like a princess with my daughter. I really like to listen to like folk music.
Okay.
And some people are just like, I really like pop music, like Britney Spears is on my iPod right now.
Gotcha.
Just it varies. Now, the funniest thing is I don't know if you've heard of this band yet. If you haven't yet, I'm sure you'll end up running into them at some point, but they're called GFM, or Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Like the all-girl band, they're sisters. But I asked them that, and oh my goodness, it was so funny to listen to them try to come up with something un-rock and roll about them and fail. Because they're like, well, I skateboard. No, wait, no, that's pretty rock and roll. And then another one's like, oh, well, it's like, I really like to, wear lots of makeup, but most of it's black. No, that's pretty rock and roll too. And I'm like, you guys are killing me. And they're like, you know what? Never mind. There's nothing un-rock and roll about us. It's settled. It's just done. And they're the only band who couldn't come up with something.
Wow. Well, if I could give you one, now that you've mentioned that, if I could give you one, I am all about spa days. Oh my gosh. Like, that might sound embarrassing, but getting a full body massage and a manicure and a pedicure is stinking awesome. I don't care how unmanly I sound. That stuff is stinking amazing. My wife loves it. I love it. I'm for that stuff.
Okay,
so that's
fair
probably
enough.
the most un-rock and roll thing I can think of right now.
Hey man, it's a new era, dude. It's a new era. No shame in that game.
There you go, man. I appreciate it.
Cool deal, dude. Well, man, is there anything else that you want to add in that we haven't talked about that you want people to know before we wrap this up?
Man, just know that we are going to be in a lot of cities in the near future. And make it out to a show. I promise you won't regret it. Man, keep supporting. Keep your eyes open. I promise there is big things on the way.
Cool. I like it, dude. Well, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the show. I hope that despite the fact that most people will be hearing this either on Easter weekend or Easter day, I hope that you have a great Easter. And, man, I just look forward to great things for you, dude.
Dude, thanks so much, man. Thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing again.